All right, we are back in session. I still have slips for the administrative calendar. I have Kevin Moran.
How the building department is working and whatever kind of forms we can help it work more efficiently.
Drew, can you take a look? Is Drew here at the microphone? Oh, they're working on it.
We can hear you, though. Yeah, I think we're good.
So we support this initiative. We encourage you to vote yes on the proposal. Like I said, we really do believe that it would be great to have a third party take a look at the building design and taking our views into consideration.
Thank you for coming, particularly since you're a Wantagh resident, which means you're a neighbor of mine. So I appreciate that. I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of improvements that can be made with the building department, and not to attack any one individual, but collectively, I think it hasn't been an overly pleasant experience for a lot of the residents. And I'm saying that living on the South Shore, I don't live on the water, but every town that I represent is on the water and particularly impacted by Sandy. With all that said, your organization's desire to have an audit, I understand that, and I think there is validity to that. And I'm wondering, though, if we can't achieve that with the ideas that we put forth this morning, and I'm sure you haven't had a chance to digest that yet. Two things. We would propose an ad hoc audit and review team. So we would assemble a group of professionals, possibly someone such as yourself, local builders, developers, people who have had negative experiences as a result of Sandy, that type of a group, and we would bring them in to, in fact, do an assessment and an audit and to figure out best practices at no cost, because the cost here, I think that's what my board members are particularly concerned about, this 300 range and above. Maybe we could achieve a similar objective. In addition, we would be proposing a director of innovation from current staff so that that person can try to analyze ways that we can improve the building department to get it to be cutting edge, to get it to be that gold standard where it should be. I moved forward with a blue ribbon zoning commission, and I think that would dovetail nicely with it so that we can bring it into the 21st century.
Gotcha. Yep, and I will definitely bring back what was been presented today by you, by the board, to our office. I haven't read it, so I can't really comment.
Yeah, take a look at it. Maybe we could have a further conversation about it.
Mr. Moran, I have some questions for you. Thank you for coming today. I assume that you represent a number of builders that operate in the town of Hempstead.
Well, over 150 builders across Long Island, right. Many of them do.
How do you think that your board would feel if we opened the building department on Saturdays and Sundays so that they would have an opportunity 7 days a week to access our department?
While I'm sure that they would definitely appreciate that opportunity, I do believe, though, that the best way to solve the structural issues that they're facing with the building department would be to have a third party look in on what's going on.
Well, did you ask your board whether or not they would rather us spend the money on longer hours with more planning examiners versus an audit? You haven't had that opportunity, have you?
Me personally, I haven't. I would have to defer that.
Would you bring that back to them? Because I think from talking to your individual members, which I have a lot of communication with, especially your board of directors, that their biggest complaint is delay. That's their biggest complaint. And the fact of the matter is we don't have enough planning examiners, we don't have enough staff. So if faced with the choice, my guess is their recommendation to us would be hire more planning examiners, because basically we know, and your members know, that that's one of the issues, that's one of the problems.
Sure. Yeah, that definitely could be true, and I will absolutely bring that back to our CEO, Mitch Pally. But at this time, our position is that we support the outside third
Yeah,
party.
but we're giving you some alternatives.
Yes,
We understand that was your review of the audit, but now we're saying, from a value judgment, some of us on the board feel that the money would be better spent on longer hours and more planning examiners and more staff, because the number one complaint we get is delay. Thank you, sir.
Thank
So
you.
you haven't had an opportunity to bring this to your board because you never heard about it until this morning, is that correct?
This morning was the first time that it was brought to my attention, yes.
Me too, and we've been talking about this for a year and a half.
Do you think,
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
before he leaves, do you think if the commissioner's suggestions of the overtime, the commissioner's suggestion of a new computer system comparable to New York City's, which is very efficient, more space, which has been denied him, the more people he asked for 15 people, he only got 3 in a year and a half. Do you think the money, the $300,000, will go better to service your constituency with the overtime, with the computers, with the space, with the more people, rather than spending the $300,000 on a study that's not going to get that done? We're not going to get the people. We're not going to get the overtime. We're not going to get the space. We're not going to get the computer. We're going to spend our taxpayers' money on one agency coming in to tell us what the commissioner's already told us has to happen. Hasn't happened, so, the house of cards is falling down because, he's terrible. He's not terrible. The guy's great. He told us the answers, and they won't do it. If they did it, your guys would be happy. They would be able to come into a wider spaced area. You know where the planners are in one area. You know where all the people are that has to be gotten to. You know that there's enough people to take care of it. He asked for 15 people. He got 3 in a year and a half. They just testified to that.
So, Commissioner, if you're
the computer system
concerned,
that we need
if
is
you're concerned
so
about
antiquated that we
$300,000,
have.
Commissioner.
The computer is antiquated that we have. He asked for a new computer system. $300,000 is really a good start for that computer system to help your guys out. The bing bang. Now, the policy and procedures. Commissioner, do you have a policy and a procedure in the building department? Yes, you do. I've seen thick books of policy and procedure. Now, they're going to have to be redone. We're going to try to get people in there to streamline it, to check it out and fix that, because right now, apparently, the policy and procedures is mixed up with different ways of viewing it. So, yeah, we have some work to do, and help is on its way.
We're happy to hear that, and looking forward to just any improvements that really can be made.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner, for giving us those suggestions.
Councilman, if you're concerned about the $300,000 cost for Ernst & Young, that was the recommendation of the panel. It was not, that's why it was put forward, but I'd be happy to adjourn and amend the resolution rather and go with the lower bidder.
Bidder was spending taxpayers' money for something we were told that can fix it, and you don't want to fix it. You want to go out the outside and bring in other people to do something that we've already know. The overtime's needed. The computers are needed to be updated. You need more space so these people have, when you walk in, it's like clutter. It is so disgusting. Dorothy Gooseby was there, and she was saying it's horrible. How do these people come to work every day? Where's the morale is down. We have to help our CSEA workers. We have to get more people in that department so we can get the job done. So they get the job done, period.
So you don't want to make an amendment to award it to a lower bidder, Councilman?
I don't want to bid it out to anybody. Let's try what the commissioner said. He's the expert. He's the pro, not us.
Yeah, if I may respond, I don't understand the logic. The recommendation was for Ernst & Young with a budget for the first phase of $300,000, and I assume there would be a second phase because it says first phase, which would probably be as much or more. And you're saying, let's forget about what the committee said and go with the second bidder because it's less money?
I put it forward because that was the recommendation of the panel. However, if you think $300,000 is too much to invest and trying to have a gold standard for our building department, and you're going to complain that there was a lower bid, then you can amend it and go with the lower bid.
Well, Supervisor, what I would be willing to do is to form a committee of of the town board staff, I'm only speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for my colleagues, and your staff, and see what we could fix internally. And then after that, if we felt that we needed an audit, that we would agree on a policy and procedure to go forward with that audit. That I would be willing to do as a compromise. I'm just speaking to as myself, as one council member.
I also want to point out, if I can, because we keep referring to the fact that the panel wanted to move this forward. Let's understand that the panel was put together to grade the bids. Okay, it wasn't, they didn't come together and all of them agree that we need an audit. Their job was simply to grade the bids that came in and make a decision on which one they thought was better for the situation. Not whether we needed to do it, only the fact that they were making a decision on the two that were in front of them, which one made sense. It had nothing to do with the panel saying, yes, we need an audit of the building department.
So we put this out to bid. We convened a panel, and then the commissioner was disappointed because he was not a part of that panel. So he wanted to be involved in the process. So we brought everybody back again, and he was a part of the process, trying to work collaboratively to get this audit done. We waited and we waited and we negotiated and we negotiated. I never ever heard any of these suggestions about opening on the weekends or other suggestions at any point during this process. I'm just hearing about them today. And then the bids expired. So then we had to put it out to bid again. So then we put it out to bid again, and then there was a problem with the vendor that responded. We only had one response. The problem with the vendor who responded, they didn't meet all the requirements of the RFP. So then it had to be put out to bid again. So we're here a year and a half later. This is the first time I'm hearing any of these suggestions. During that whole time, Councilman, you could have come to me and said, let's try to work on this together. I was open. You had a town board representative on that panel. You could have raised any of these suggestions then. We didn't hear anything, not a peep, because every time we try to push this forward, it's shut down. We need independent people to help us fix our building department.
Supervisor, you were told by me, and I'm told that you were told by other members, that we wanted to sit down and work together to fix the building department. You were the only one that was pushing for an audit. We were perfectly happy to sit down and talk about revisions to the code, streamlining the process, potentially getting a concierge service so that when people go, it's one-stop shopping. They go up there, they're told, this is what you've got to do. You've got to go here, you've got to go there, you've got to go there. Getting the communications department out of the building department, getting more planning examiners, that's all stuff that we were willing to talk to you about. But you steadfastly wanted to go with an audit. It's a policy difference between us. We can agree to disagree. Reasonable people can disagree. We recognize that we could have a better building department, but not by spending money on an outside auditor who's just going to come up with a report. And their report, they're going to come up with a report because obviously they don't want people to say, you spent $300,000, what did you come up with? We would rather the $300,000, and I think it's more like $600,000. When we talk to builders, which I have, developers, residents, common people, their complaint is it takes too long. Some of the rules are too convoluted. And the other thing is access. So we looked at it and we said, maybe we should open up on Saturday, open up 6 days a week. Well, I represent a district where almost 40% of my district are observant Jews who couldn't come on a Saturday. So we said, why don't we open on Saturday and Sunday and make it accessible to everybody? Surely you can't be against that. The difference we have on a policy basis is you want to spend it on some fancy auditor, and we think we have a solution to the problem by hiring more auditors, by bringing people in and asking them, what is your biggest complaint? That's our policy disagreement.
I agree we have a policy disagreement. I do believe that we need experts. I'm not an expert. I could not tell you, Commissioner, how you could better run your building department, nor do I want to, because I have no expertise in this field. Councilman Blakeman says he has some expertise, and I don't doubt that you do, but I don't think anybody else here is qualified to tell you how you can fix your building department. I think we need experts to help you streamline the process. I think it's a valuable investment of taxpayer dollars. I think it's hypocritical to say we can't spend $117,000 or $300,000 to try to give our residents the best building department possible when between January and April we doled out almost $1 million in raises and promotions that weren't budgeted. Okay? Let's put our taxpayer dollars to work that's going to give something real to the residents.
It's not going to give something real. It's only going to produce a report. And Supervisor, I have consulted with experts. I've consulted with 760,000 experts. Our residents, they'll tell you what's wrong if you just listen to them. We need to listen to the residents. We need to listen to the contractors. They're the ones that are telling us how to fix it. Those are the people I'd rather listen to than have some fancy audit come in at $300,000 to $600,000 when the money could be spent on more plan examiners and by having longer hours. That's it. If you disagree, we agree to disagree. But that's where I come down on the issue.
If I could add, I do think there is widespread agreement that we have challenges in the legal department and that we
Building department.
I'm sorry, building department. And that I think that we have a bunch of good ideas how to tackle them. And how about, I hate to agree with Bruce, but how about we do give this a shot internally, see if we can move forward with it, put a pretty good tight deadline on it with the idea of saving money and going forward with these proposed changes and open to other ones and then revisit this in 60, 90 days.
And I think that we can all agree that the men and women that work in the building department really do their best. And there is tons of talent there. There's hundreds of years of institutional knowledge. And I think that if we provide the correct tools to the building department, they will have the ability to turn this around.
And the correct staff, more staff, because they don't have enough staff, and space. I did say that, Supervisor, when you came up with the last, I think about a year and a half ago, because I did go down to the building department. I talked to the staff that was there. I walked around. They're just like a bunch of, like rats in a cage. I could almost say that because they're so close together, no one can breathe. And we have all of that space, which I did say that. If you go back in the minutes, you'll see it, that we have the communication department, 2 or 3 people in the whole area that could be used for this building department. They need it, and more staff. I was there also. I saw those records that are in one room, and I'm afraid for that. I was told that people who were working there were part-timers are no longer working there, so they're not there. And those things need to be protected and put away, okay? And if we had someone come in and tell us what's wrong, and what are we going to do as far as the people that we're going to need to do it? How are we going to, then that's money we've used as well. So therefore, we can't hire any more people. It's going to cost us even more money. So why can't we just try that and see if that works first? And then, if it doesn't, we have to go to what you have.
Well, I do agree that we really do have a challenge with staffing requirements for the building department, and a lot of those challenges were caused by the 2019 budget. The less savings that was supposed to be achieved in that department is over $500,000 of employees that we can't hire because they're supposed to be attrited out of the building department when we actually have real needs for more people there.
Supervisor, in your proposed budget, did you propose any additional hiring of any additional planning examiners or to increase overtime in the building department or to extend the hours of the building department, knowing that those were issues?
I don't prepare the building department's budget. The commissioner does.
You proposed the budget.
I did, but I got the figures from the commissioner. Commissioner, was that part of your budget that you submitted?
Well, we had many
thank you.
people that retired from that department.
He said yes.
There were many that retired, you know that. And that's what really helped hurt us.
Okay, let's get to the next speaker. Alan Kennemer.
Check.
Don't throw things.
Now you have a good speaker.
Thank you.
This one's good?
Okay.
Hi, my name is Alan Kinnemer. I reside in East Meadow, New York for the past 20 years. I'm also on the board of directors for the Long Island Builders Institute. I'm here today to speak on behalf of being a resident and what I've experienced through the building department for the past few years. Nobody's pointing fingers at anyone here. We want to see improvements, whatever that may be. You know, we work with a lot of building departments. We work with Oyster Bay. We work with Babylon. We work with Smithtown. And it's to come in and look at it, evaluate it, and try to make improvements for everybody. And this is an opportunity to improve. You know, we could hire more people, but those same people are going to come into the same system that we have today. We need to really evaluate the system that we have. You know, we need to have a...
What is the excuse me? What is the systemic problem? Did I say that? Systemic problem that you're identifying? Because educate us. We want to hear from people like you.
Sure.
So tell us, what are the systemic problems? Maybe we could fix them. I'd rather hear from you about what the problems are. Aside from the staffing, you said there's this systemic problems.
Right.
Easy for me to say. So sir, tell us, we'd like to be educated.
So, I mean, we've got to look at it. We've got to have a clear path for a builder, for a developer, for a remodeler, for a homeowner to know what the steps of the process are. And they have to be consistent no matter who you are, where you live, anywhere in the town of Hempstead. What I hear, and I do a lot of remodeling, my daytime job is doing countertops, and I hear it from remodelers, well, it's too much of a problem to go and get a permit to do this. So a lot of work's taking place without permits, and it's because of the difficulty for them to get the permits, which then, in turn, we're not getting the revenue for the permits.
So, sir, let me ask you a question. If the town board made a decision that with remodeling that doesn't involve structural or anything to do with health and safety, if we eliminated that process, that would be improvement. Because I understand other towns have either looked at that or they've done that. You know, for minor renovations, you're saying that if someone wants to redo their kitchen, they shouldn't have to get a permit.
Right.
Okay. That's something that I think is valuable, because I tend to agree with you. I think that going through a whole process to take a sink out and a dishwasher, and you want new counters and you want a new, help me here, a new island with a new granite on it or whatever, that they shouldn't have to go to the building department. They shouldn't have to spend money on a permit, and they shouldn't have to wait 4 or 5 weeks to get their permit.
Again, as long as there's no structural changes.
Right, no structural. We agree on that.
Or electrical, it's a different ball.
See, that's valuable to us. I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's something that hearing from you has more value to me than hearing from some report. Because you're the guy that's out there in the field all day. You're the one that works with the homeowners, and you know what a pain in the neck the thing is.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's something I would propose, I can tell you that.
Okay, let me check my notes here. I know we touched on it a little bit. So the firm was chosen by independent committee, correct?
It was not chosen by anybody on the dais.
Right. So it was a complete outside committee. Was that on their, in their judgment, was that the best value?
That was the top scored vendor.
Okay, of the two, there were only two, correct? Okay, okay. So yesterday at the press conference, Senator Brooks spoke about it going to the state level if it's not approved today. I mean, I really think that that's going to cost us a lot more than $500,000 in the long run. By the time we have delays for the state to come in to evaluate, for them to only probably tell us things that are happening. We got to have a third party come in and review this to give us suggestions. They've been to other towns. They've seen what's happening there. So we need to get feedback from them so we can grow. I'd much rather us handle things inside these walls than it to go to Albany or anybody else for them to come in and tell us what to do. So I want to do something a little out of the ordinary, but I'd like to ask the people in the audience, who is against this bill? No one? Is everybody for the review of the building department by the third party? Who is not in favor of that? Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kinnemer. Lenny Minervini.
Thank you, Supervisor and legislators, for taking the time to hear from a voice of a concerned constituent. I'm Lenny Minervini. I live at 272
Could you just pull the mic a little closer to you, please?
My name is Lenny Minervini. I live at 272 Chestnut Avenue in East Meadow, and I've been a Hempstead resident for 32 years. I am an independent contractor who has been working for builders, developers, and homeowners for over 30 years. Working with builders and developers, one of the biggest complaints about working on Long Island is the time and the energy exhausted on building departments and time-consuming process and inconsistencies. I personally know builders who have left to go build in the Carolinas for the reason that, and there are others who are considering leaving for Texas for the same reason. Hearing about the horror stories of the homeowners who were first victimized by a hurricane and then the town of Hempstead, it is heart-wrenching. I applaud the efforts of the supervisors for dealing with this issue and look forward to making an investment to ensure that the situation is investigated and corrected with a set of outside eyes.
Thank you, sir. Robin Archibald.
My name is Robin Archibald. I am a resident of Merrick in the town of Hempstead. I have been in support of this independent audit because, like everybody else has said before me, a pair of outside eyes I think would be beneficial to improving the deficiencies within the building department. I've told my story here before. A lot of people are familiar. I was a victim of Sandy. I went through the necessary steps and protocol, taking out permits. After Sandy was issued a repair permit, only to find out 6 months after, and when my house was completely repaired, that I was substantially damaged and had to elevate. Just finishing up the elevation now. Been 2 years, again, displaced from my house. I heard the other side and what's being said about the concerns in the building department. I feel that somebody independent or the suggestion that you made, form a committee of independent people to look into what's going on. I don't think, I think that could happen, but we've been talking about this independent audit for a year or more, and I don't understand why now today that suggestion is being made when a year has gone by and maybe there could have been improvements in the building department already. So now you're saying, okay, it'll be 60, 90 days until we form a committee or get people together and then start looking into it. We're talking about now probably, 5 years down the road, the building department may get a new computer system. It seems absurd. I mean, the time is now. So whether it's somebody independent coming in to look at what needs to be done, or you forming some kind of committee to look into it, either way, things need to be done, improvements need to be made. I don't believe that the people that are in the building department in charge right now are suitable to be making decisions on what improvements in the future. Although their input is valuable, I believe something should be done independently.
Thank you. Stephen Arriaga.
Great pronunciation, by the way. Stephen Arriaga. It's been mispronounced since kindergarten, so don't worry. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Stephen Arriaga. I am the proud president of the Wenshaw Park Civic Association. The Wenshaw Park Civic Association is located in Merrick, New York, with Councilman Dunn. We are officially a not-for-profit 501(c) organization, and I represent 215 homeowners. Proudly. We are the oldest Merrick Civic Association, as we've been serving the community since 1958. Today I'm here to represent case number 28619, item 46 on the agenda, the resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding with our organization to install decorative street signs, stop signs specifically at various locations in Wenshaw Park. I would first like to start out by thanking the town of Hempstead. The board has been tremendous with our community over the years. Councilman Dunn, your office, Joseph Davenport, and Mr. Reed have been a tremendous partner of our amazing community over the years with our various beautification initiatives. Our community cares deeply about our neighborhood, so much that we have fundraised over $20,000 for the sole purpose to invest back in the town of Hempstead. Trust we know and recognize that the amount of taxes we pay each year, but this investment back in our community is something that demonstrates the commitment and pride that our civic has celebrated the community and neighborhood since 1958. We funded the purchase of 20 decorative street signs and poles that now fill our community and that the town have partnered with us to install, and giving us that kind of Norman Rockwell 1950s painting for the town of Hempstead. And we hope that generations will admire for years to come. I have a picture, in case you have not seen it, that I'll leave for the supervisor of the signs that have been installed in phase 1 and phase 2. Really beautiful. Anyone that enters our community comments on how beautiful it is and gives that old historic charm of our neighborhood. As highlighted in the MOU, this project started with phase 1 in 2014, followed by phase 2 in 2017, and now we're ready for the final phase in 2019 that encompasses our decorative stop signs that other towns in town of Hempstead have installed, such as Lynbrook, that we've modeled against. And so we thank you again and look forward to completing phase 3 with the help of the town of Hempstead, hopefully with your approval today in late summer, early fall 2019. Lastly, back in April 2011, a portion of our community, Shore Drive, was approved as part of the capital improvement project for repaving, and trust that we know that the roads across town of Hempstead are in dire need of repair. We recognize that it's very hard to get, all of the roads completed, but we want to applaud the new capital improvement budget that you have approved. So we look forward to the ongoing development and beautification.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Beautification of your hometown, it gives you pride in where you live, and we're all for that. I purchased 5 statues of military people and put them in the Veterans Park out of my own expense, and I donated it to the park. It makes you feel good when you go home, and it's different than other communities, and that's so. My office was very happy and excited and happily surprised that you were continuing on with the effort. And anytime you want to donate something to the town, we'll be happy to take it.
Well, we have a very active neighborhood and community that is fully vested in the community. So.
And as far as the roads go and the repairing of the roads, repair is one thing, and redoing the road is something different. And our engineering department has a special rating schedule for that. And the roads that are in Merrick are, thank God, not nearly as bad as some roads throughout the rest of this largest township in the country. So there are some really bad areas that need it right now, and that's being addressed. And we'll get here, but help's on its way, but not as quickly as you'd want.
And we totally respect that. As we said, the prioritization, I applaud not only the budget, but also the way that you're going about prioritizing the roads, right? If all roads need to be done, it has to be done in a thoughtful and fair and equitable manner. So we just wanted to applaud you for the approach that you're taking, and just wanted to thank you. But we're here to represent the community to let you know that our roads are in dire need as well.
Thanks for coming here today. Thank you
so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Here is the picture of the new stop signs, assuming your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael Ingham. Stephanie Capuano.
Changing the subject. Stephanie Capuano, Wantor. You know me as an animal advocate. I'm reading this. I also, years ago, went to college for social work, and I worked with domestic abuse hotlines and volunteered for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I have passions. As you know, my passion is, and compassion, is for the animals as well. They are living, breathing. Sending animals to any shelter to be provided for and happy is a right. It's a waste of your money, if not. I've also learned it's a business the hard way years ago. It could be a business for some of these rescues. And it seems like it is for our shelter. Many people are in it for the money and the jobs. It must be people who really care. As with children, you would never want to hire anybody to take care of abused children.
Ms. Capuano, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Would you stop her time? What item are you, we're talking about the administrative calendar now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you supposed to be here for public comment?
No, you call, yeah, I signed up for public.
You know what, you were in administrative, so can you just come back and finish your comments?
Yes, I can.
Sorry about that.
okay.
Thank you. Mary Ellen Cray?
Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. On items number 34, 45, 95, and 97, I'd like to compliment the Department of Conservation and Waterways on its collaborative efforts. They do a great job and definitely appreciate that. I'd like to ask, what is the criterion for a permissive referendum? Because I've tried to look at these. At first I thought it was $100,000, but that's not the case. So why are some of these budget items requiring a permissive referendum and others not?
Is Mr. Ra here? I believe, and I'm going to be subject to correction by Mr. Ra, that when we have, these are all related to the capital plan and the capital projects that we're going to be funding through bond resolutions. I believe that when it's in a special district, it requires a public hearing, but if it's not in a special district, it's subject to permissive referendum.
Now, does that mean that all of these...
Oh, I'm sorry. We have someone from the controller's office who's going to explain it.
Supervisor, if the capital bond resolution is for a PPU, a period of probable usefulness over 5 years, then it's required to be subject to permissive referendum.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by over 5 years.
Yeah, each one of the bond resolutions that's presented in here, in the local finance law, there's a time frame how long the bonds can be amortized. And the law specifically specifies that if it's over 5 years, then it's subject to permissive referendum, which is another advertising process that goes through for the bond resolution.
So does that mean a referendum to me means that we vote on it? So are we going to have 50,000 of these things that we vote yes and no?
No, you don't vote on it. This is different. It's carved out differently in the law. What happens is if there's something wrong in the legality of the bond, there's a separate time period in which residents have the opportunity. There's a process that you have to follow per the state law that says certain actions occur, and if you find something wrong with the bond resolution, you can contradict it and request that it be pulled. But it's a legal process that it has to go through.
So it's not really, to me, a referendum is a vote. So this is not really a vote, it's just like...
Not by the taxpayers, by the board.
By the board.
Yep.
Well, how is that different from what they're doing today?
It's not. It's just another time period that the state law requires I guess in their wisdom, when these laws were passed, they said, you know, if it was over a certain time period, they said maybe it requires additional due diligence or something of that nature. I don't know, you know, I couldn't tell you when it was first started. It was probably umpteen years ago.
Thank you.
Okay?
Not that I understand any better, but I don't think you do either.
Well, sorry.
Okay,
Just know if it's over 5 years, it's required, it's subject to permissive referendum.
Thank you.
That's it.
On item number 59, what kind of additions to the animal shelter, please? 59, on page 7.
Commissioner, are you here? I don't have a 59.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Board. What number?
59.
It's number 59. It's about the improvements at the animal shelter.
Yes, the $100,000. That's going to be work done. That's going to be mostly for the fix the internal cages of the animal shelter.
So it's just repairs? It's,
Yes.
because this says additions. So repairs and additions are not the same thing.
No. We're talking the addition of cages and fixing the internal cages.
So there will not be any improvement or increase in the actual footprint
footage,
of
that's
the
correct. That's correct.
building?
There will not.
Thank you. On item 93, I'm wondering why we need an architect to deal with solid waste.
Commissioner Conroy, can you explain that, please?
This resolution is to hire an engineering firm, and we've been doing it for years, and what they do is they monitor our landfill. They make sure that there's no leakages, they monitor the gas that comes out of it. That's what they do. It's landfill monitor. They monitor the water, and it's done monthly. And then at the end of the year, we get reports and make sure our levels are good and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
On 110, electric sharing, what is that? Is that electrical vehicles or number 110? On page 12.
This proposal is to do a pilot program to have, to install electric charging stations, to provide kind of like a zip car, but provide environmentally friendly cards. But I believe that this is going to be adjourned. Actually, this item is going to be adjourned.
Oh, interestingly enough, I did see charging things in parking lots in Oregon. On number 127 on page 14, what kind of positions, please?
Mr. Salmon?
It's on page 14, 127.
I believe there's employees going to the Parks Department.
Various personnel resolutions, which were on, listed online.
I see. So these are people who are, what, retiring?
There are 10 people going on a leave of absence, and then there's some people getting promotions, I believe, in the Parks Department. Is that correct, Mr. Simon?
4 people are being appointed off the Park Supervisor 2 list. That's correct, Supervisor. Title change down sanitation. Various leaves of absences. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
I believe also someone in sanitation passed a test and got their CDL license, and we need a driver. So I think there's also someone that's
Yes.
getting an upgrade in sanitation as well.
Motion from recycling worker 1 to recycling worker 2 with the successful completion of getting his commercial driver's license. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon.
On 134, Community Choice Aggregation Energy Program. I know you're calling for a hearing.
Yes.
I'd just like to know what this is.
I will have, if you see Mr. Haber, he can explain it to you.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to suggest that there be some kind of time limit on the board members for their comments, because sometimes board members repeat themselves over and over, and they are taking time from our lives, which I find very wearing.
We will take it under advisement, Ms. Meredith, Ms. Cray. Mita Meredith?
Which microphone working?
Whichever you like.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Okay. Here's the copies. Thank you. Mita J. Meredith, Baldwin resident. Where does one begin? Item 32, just concerned with regard to what outreach took place. It's an ongoing concern that I have with regard to the lack of diversity and inclusion, which clearly smacks of the lack of voices being heard. And again, not having a full-fledged MWVDBE program in the township. So what I have distributed, again, for a teachable moment, is the summary of the New York State MWBE Omnibus Bill, which was passed to expand and reauthorize Article 15A, which provides pretty much the infrastructure for the state's MWBE program. I think the points in there with regard to outreach, having an advocate, a statewide advocate, I think that this township truly needs an advocate, because there's so many residents here who are clearly voiceless in terms of the representation. And I would warrant to suggest that those residents who are here, individuals and organizations that are here, come in the next couple of months when they have the budget hearings, when there's an echo in the room, because I was one of those that pleaded with this board to increase the representatives and the resources for the buildings department, considering that Superstorm Sandy hit in 2012. A lot of the faces that are speaking today, I don't remember seeing them at any of the hearings, whether they were in the evening or in the daytime. I have a lawsuit, actually, as a matter of fact, from a resident in Freeport who's being sued by a contractor, and it was interesting that I believe Channel 4 is still here, that they did an expose on the contractor from a company, I will not put their name here, but it's already been posted, who's basically absconded with millions of dollars from residents' funding, and a number of their residents, their houses are sitting on pallets, have not been raised, they're paying taxes. I would encourage the township to coordinate its efforts with the local municipalities, the local villages, as well as the county, to get on board to address the needs and the cries of our residents with regard to Sandy. Lastly, I was charged by Ralph Esposito from Nassau County Veteran Services to make sure that item 40 does pass. I assured him that it would. And again, it's my hope that our veterans, and I do thank the town clerk for her continued efforts in providing those resources for our veterans, that we get that information out there to better service their needs as far as parking. So hopefully, if the comments from the board, as was previously stated, do not take too long, I will be back for public comment, because some of us are sitting here on our own time and dime, and then we have to make the money to pay these taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith.
Just a quick correction for you. It's Ralph Esposito, great guy over at the Nassau County Veteran Services Agency. So thank you for recognizing him. He does a wonderful job. Thank you.
He didn't need to be here all day. I would speak up for that. Thank you.
Susan Ryan?
Good afternoon. I just got here, so I apologize. I haven't been listening to the previous speakers. The question I had was about the audit of the buildings department, permit departments. And in terms of, is there, with that, are you going to hire somebody to take a look at the processes for the building department?
There has been a lot of discussion about this item. The proposal is to bring in an outside independent company to come in and look at the building department.
Right.
There has been discussion about the cost of those services. It was an independent panel that recommended Ernst & Young, which was not the lower price, it was the higher price. I offered that if the board did not want to take the recommendation of the panel and wanted to go with the lower priced vendor, that's certainly something that we could do on the floor. I wouldn't oppose it. I think we just need an independent company to come in there. But there is some disagreement with the board, with the town council, about whether or not we can just do it ourselves.
I was saying this, I brought this up before, but the building department, in terms of the process for permits, has been very onerous. It's very unsure. I mean, people, when they're doing construction on their houses, are really not sure what the fees are going to be. If you're looking for a C of O, it's really, really problematic to obtain that. So I would really urge that you move forward on getting the right person to do this or the right group to do it, regardless of, I mean, it's an important issue to serve the taxpayers. So I would urge that you really kind of move this forward and get the right people to do it, regardless of the price. It's holding up the process for the taxpayers. The other question I had was on the, it looks like there's a lot of bonding going on for especially the Parks Department, and then it looks like there's going to be a raise in fees. So I'm kind of concerned. It almost looks like that's double dipping for the taxpayers to pay the interest on refinancing and then also raising fees in parks.
So the bonding resolutions are all related to the capital plan, which is already passed.
Okay.
So this is to acquire the funding and do the bonding that's necessary in order to implement the capital plan.
Okay.
So we have a lot of them today because we're doing all the funding. And Mr. Capabianco, you can jump in if I'm not speaking correctly. And the park fees, I believe we're reducing park fees for active military. So we're reducing fees.
Good. Okay. And lastly, I think I missed the part on the ethics, but that I think really needs to be, with ethics, I know that you're going to put in that the spouses need to be identified, but it really needs to go further than that.
It is passed.
Perfect. So I did my job today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie Salzone.
Good afternoon, committee. Thank you for having this venue. I'm actually here today because I just want to say that I do support the independent panel. I've heard great things about Ernst & Young reviewing the building department, a type of audit on what they do and how they do it and how they don't do it, more importantly. I would like to support that the audit looks at all the activities from the building department, including fraudulent contractors, unlicensed contractors, the unbelievable long wait and dysfunctional wait to get permits, especially for Sandy victims. I'm a Sandy victim. My house is still on the ground. There's still a lot of Sandy homes still up in the air. As was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of fraudulent contractors that have been through the building department that are still allowed to go through the building department. I don't know how these guys are getting permits, but I definitely think that having one person, one woman in the building department issuing permits for Superstorm Sandy since the onset, I'm from Lido Beach, and I'll never forget the first night all these men came into Long Beach, one of the schools, and said, if you need help, go to Town of Hempstead Building Department. And they mentioned this woman's name, And all I was thinking was, how could one person be responsible for all of these permits for all of these people? It's absolutely ludicrous to me.
Excuse me,
So-
ma'am. You make a very excellent point, and you probably weren't here earlier, but
No, I wasn't. I apologize.
yeah, no worries. I just want to tell you that there are some of us who think that the money would be better spent hiring more people rather than getting a report that's going to tell us we need more people. So we have taken that into consideration, and that's one of the things that we're thinking about right now is whether the money would be better spent just hiring the people that we need, because you're right. One person can't take care of all that. 11 planning examiners can't take care of 10,000 applications a year. I think we all agree with that.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
I did hear you say that earlier, and it's not about replacing one person. It's looking at how the whole system operates. It's just absolutely crazy. I went up just to get a piece of paper. I'm a realtor. To get a piece of paper on one house in Hewlett, it took me an hour and a half to get one piece of paper. The lines and waiting for the lines, and people don't know what's going on. So I don't know that will be money better spent hiring more people. I think a complete audit needs to be performed to see how people are functioning, under what conditions, what are the parameters, what are the ways they're supposed to be working together, working independently. It doesn't seem like it's a very cohesive group to me. And it doesn't seem like everybody knows what's going on up there. It just seems like it doesn't work well to me. So I definitely support an audit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Supervisor, could I ask that the representative from Ernst & Young come forward? So I have some questions. If we could interrupt for 1 second. Who's here from Ernst & Young?
Is there someone here from Ernst & Young? No, there's nobody here from Ernst & Young.
Well, I'd like to know how long it's going to take for them to do the report. I'd like to know whether or not there's going to be a phase 2 and how much that would cost the taxpayers. I'd like to know from them what building departments on Long Island have they audited before. I can't believe that we have an item here worth $300,000+ and we don't have Ernst & Young here to answer rudimentary questions that we would have. There's nobody here from Ernst & Young?
Ernst & Young came and presented to a representative for the town board. And I'm sure all that information you could have obtained from Mr. Vassallo, who represented the town board on that panel. Yeah, and Councilman, you were in my office last week, and I talked about the building department audit. I asked you to support it. You didn't tell me anything about your new proposal to stay open on the weekends. You didn't ask me any of this information about Ernst & Young. I would have been happy to provide it for you when you were sitting in front of me, and I thought we were working collaboratively. Instead, I get this proposal handed to me at the dais when we've been working on this for a year and a half.
Yeah, but
I would have been happy to give you that information.
Supervisor, I don't think that's the issue. I think that Ernst & Young, if they wanted the contract, should at least come here and tell us what they were planning to do, what their methodology was, basically how long they think the report's going to take, will there be a phase 2, how much will that cost, what's the time frame? If the time frame is a year, I'd rather spend the money to act now than wait a year till they issue a report. So I think they should have been here. That's just one council member's opinion.
So, Mr. Blakeman, we vote on contracts all the time. I've never heard you say that every contractor has to appear before the town board. If that's something that you want to do, we can do that. We can drag every single person who's getting a contract here to answer any questions you have. But this is the first time I'm hearing that request. And we had a panel where you had a designated representative who could have asked any of the questions you want. This process has been going on for a year and a half. What we see here, people, are delay, delay, delay. Any excuse to not have outside eyes come in and evaluate our building department. That's what we have here. And all the proposed changes, excuse me, I am speaking right now.
I apologize.
All the proposed changes that they're suggesting, one, don't do a comprehensive picture of how we can increase and improve the functionality of that department, and they're all going to cost a heck of a lot more than a $117,000 or a $300 and change thousand audit. Overtime, restructuring a whole department and reconfiguring the structure of the office space of the building department. All of this is going to cost a lot of money. And to say that we can't invest $117,000 or $300 and change, I don't have the exact figure in front of me, to get someone in there and not just experiment with changes, but have an outside professional come in and tell us what the best way is to fix that building department. We're going to waste more money doing improvisation than we would on having experts come in. As I said, I am not qualified to tell Mr. Rodkamp the best way to run his building department. And I don't think if I sit there in a room with other people and other builders, we are qualified to tell the building department, this is how you can streamline efficiencies. I have no expertise in that field and I don't pretend to. But what I am proposing and what this resolution does is bring in people who have expertise in this department, who are not partisan, who are a well-respected company, to come in, a company that was chosen by the panel, to come in and provide objective insight on how we can make sure what happened to those Sandy victims does not ever happen again in the town of Hempstead.
So, Supervisor, first of all, I'm a little confused because now you're saying that the panel chooses. I thought the town board chooses. So, first of all, let me finish. They're making recommendations to which we deliberate. You're a champion of transparency. You've said that many times. Now you're saying that if we have private meetings or their staff meetings, that Ernst & Young or any other contractor doesn't have to come before us and explain why they should get the contract if we have questions. And by the way, you asked me the question, should every contractor come? If I were getting a contract for $300,000 to $600,000, or I was the CEO of that company, I would make sure that one of my people were there to answer questions before this board. So basically, I do feel they should have been here. And any contractor that has business before the town, I think they should be here because we have the right to ask those questions and the public has a right to know.
Mr. Blakeman, did you ever make a request that Ernst & Young come and appear before you today?
I told you when we met, if you want to bring up our private conversations in your office, that I had doubts about the audit, that I wasn't leaning towards it. I was very transparent with you. I kept an open mind. I kicked it around with various other council members. They came up with some ideas. I came up with some ideas. And then we started talking to people on staff. I spent a considerable amount of time with board members of your association, sir. I talked to residents, and they were giving us ideas. I think a concierge service is a great idea. Get one person right in the middle of the building department when you come in to say what kind of application you want. Okay, here's the checklist. You got to go here, you got to go there, you got to go there. Come back and see me after you see all those people. Come back and see them and make sure that when those people leave, they know exactly what they have to do so they don't have to jackass back to the town 10 times. That's a great idea. Opening on Saturday, Sunday is a great idea. Hiring more planning examiners is a great idea. Spending $300,000 to $600,000 on a report that we're not going to get for a year, to me, we disagree. I don't think that's a good idea.
We do disagree, and I don't think it's very transparent to be having a discussion at the dais about something that I've never seen before. Dr. Margaret Castillo.
Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. I'm Dr. Castillo from town of Hempstead, also a Sandy victim. I've spoken before, and I actually had to work all day, but I came here because I feel it's extremely important that you have this audit. As a Sandy victim, and I could speak for all my neighbors, that when we're walking our dogs, this is a constant conversation, how we were mistreated at the Department of Buildings. Rebecca First caused my family, my husband, myself, my special needs child, and my older children who were in high school to be out of our home for 2 additional years because of a game. I don't even know what else to say about it. It was a complete game. This cannot be repaired by opening on Saturday and Sunday. I'm sorry, Mr. Blakeman, there's no way that the Department of Buildings can be repaired by being open on Saturday and Sundays. The only way it can be repaired is by an audit that shows how to improve what is going on, what is wrong, and then a remedy to fix it. And I don't think that can be done internally. I've worked for the Department of Education for New York State. When a school is failing, we don't ask the school to audit itself. A team comes in of experts. We audit what's going on, we monitor it, then we make recommendations for improvement, and then we check on them for accountability. There is no accountability at the Department of Buildings. Thank you. And there needs to be. And I implore all of you to vote yes for this. It's $350,000, but look at the budget as a whole. $350,000 will be well spent to improve it. And you know what you will do? You will put all your constituents in a place of peace when they know they have to go to the Department of Buildings. Because if you haven't gone there, and maybe you've gone there, but if you have a friend in the Department of Buildings, you get different treatment. It is just pulling into this parking lot begins the stress and anxiety. Or sometimes in the morning when you wake up and you're like, I have to go to the Department of Buildings. And it's so unfair. And they hold our lives in their hands when it comes to repairing our home. My home is not repaired yet. We're going to be 7 years, and 2 years of it was caused by nonsense at the Department of Buildings. And even now, I'm having a problem with the plumbing inspector. The plumber took off with the crooked contractor, so I have to go find a plumber. This is what I'm told by the Department of Buildings. You go find a plumber who will take over this job. The job's already completed. I have to find a plumber to come and take over a job that's already completed so they will inspect, to sign off. It's ridiculous. The system is broken. The system needs to be fixed. So talk about wasting money. So I looked at the inspections. I came here, I got my file, I looked at the inspections.
Ms. Castillo, I'm sorry.
2 of them were done twice. Waste of money.
Thank you, Dr. Castillo.
Okay, thank you.
Diane Madden.
Just a quick remark. A crooked contractor has nothing to do with our building department. Nothing to do with our building department.
It does, absolutely.
No, it does not. And when I was a county legislator, we made sure that anybody did work for Sandy was licensed, because there was so many unlicensed people doing work that the real contractors could have been doing correctly. They had anybody who thought they were a handyman become a contractor and automatically do things. And so it's not the building department. It was the problem was there was a lot of phony contractors out there. We have some really good contractors. How many? About 600 on the island, and that are really good. And they lost work because these phonies came in and hurt people like you. So it's not the building department, it's not the good contractors, it was those phonies that took money and absconded and ran off and didn't do the work. So please don't say it's the building department that made this problem.
Okay, Ms. Madden.
Item number 59 to start, please. Could someone please tell me what that money is being utilized for?
I believe the Deputy Commissioner said it's to bring in new cages, is that correct?
Is that dog cages specifically or cat cages?
Commissioner, I believe that's dog cages, is that correct? Dog cages.
Okay, those cages are not that old. I'm kind of confused. What are the specific issues? And I only ask because bonds have been taken out before for items that I don't believe are even in the building right now still, such as a surgical suite that I'm told is rarely even used. So I'm just wondering what the issue is with the cages. By all means, if they need repair, that's one thing, but $100,000, those cages are not old. They're relatively new.
Mr. Lockeruba, do you know what the issue is with the cages?
I can tell you specifically in Kennel 4, we have issues not only with the cages and those doors, but issues with the posts themselves. They all need to be cut and replaced, that they're rotting on the bottom. Some of those cages, you can physically shake them with your hand and the whole wall, the whole section rattles.
Kennel 4?
Yes,
To
I
my
believe
knowledge,
it's
there's
Kennel
3
4.
kennels.
Something to
But
add?
yes, and it's also, Ms. Madden is going to include the dog runs out back as well.
Okay. So just so the board understands that is more money on top of a $5 million budget, where the budget was raised $1 million in 1 year alone. So you can have a state-of-the-art facility, and I'm all for it. We can well afford that. Your problem at the animal shelter is leadership. Your problem at the animal shelter is mismanagement. And no amount of money is going to fix that. You need to change personnel. Thank you. Item number 98. Could someone tell me a little bit more about this situation? Was this an outside vet used that?
I believe that we have a policy, and you can jump in, that if someone fosters a dog for us and the dog has to go to a veterinarian, that we'll reimburse them for whatever veterinarian they take them to. Is that correct?
That's correct, Supervisor, and this was an emergency situation as well.
So it was not a contracted vet? That's what I'm trying to, because normally they go right to the contracted vet, so.
The dog, I know, is treated, I have at the Baldwin Animal Hospital.
Yes, that's correct.
And do we have a contract with them?
Don't believe so, no.
Mr. Ra, or Deputy Commissioner, is the policy that if you have a dog or a cat that you're fostering and it needs immediate care, you can take it to whatever vet you choose and we will reimburse you?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, that's the policy.
I'm sorry?
So if you're fostering a dog for the animal shelter and some emergency arises and you have to take the dog to be treated, the town will reimburse you because you had to run out and get emergency care to treat that pet.
Care. I see. 127, please. I'd like to know if there are new hires at the animal shelter, any personnel changes, new positions, anyone from full-time or part-time to full-time?
Mr. Salmon, there's no one from the at the animal shelter, right? No.
So to clarify the issue, and I believe, Mr. Ra, you've contradicted yourself in the past, I have asked publicly if you need a resolution to hire employees part-time. I heard that is being done at the animal shelter. It continues to be done at the shelter, and yet I've not seen that on resolutions. So what is the policy once and for all? Do you need a resolution to hire part-timers, or do you not? Because in the past, you've said, yes, you need a resolution.
If we're talking about regular part-timers, the answer is no, we don't do a town board resolution. If we're talking about a consultant that'll come on part-time, then we do a resolution.
Okay. So one final question. With various jobs, I've been told for a very long time that the animal shelter is bringing in Dr. Iovino to evaluate the animals medically, behavioral-wise. Everything points to a behavior department problem and a training problem, which is of no surprise to me. I've expressed it since 2014. Is she being hired? I'm assuming that it would have to be on this or not. Maybe Chris Cianciulli can answer that question. Maybe someone from the animal shelter then?
Is this person being hired, Deputy Commissioner?
Right, that's what I was asking. I have been told that they're bringing in, you have posted RFPs. I was just very curious as to whether she's being brought in. There are ongoing issues with the RFP, by the way. I've been asking both administrations to please put it on the shelter's official Facebook page, 23,000 followers. It's free advertising.
Okay. Is that person being hired?
She's not being hired, as far as I know. We've had discussions with her in terms of coming in or looking to see if she would come in on a part-time basis, but there's been nothing imminent as far as I know.
Well, at this point, you're going to lose one of the best employees that you could possibly have at the animal shelter, top-notch, veterinary background, expert in behavior, expert in aggression issues, and, like I said, a veterinarian. So I'm not understanding why, after a scathing fiscal audit, and with so many things pointing to mismanagement and misuse of money, that we still don't have one single person at the animal shelter that can assess these animals?
Ms. Madden, I'm sorry, your time is up. But you said this person she's put in her resume?
Yes. She's put in her resume, right, and okay. We've spoken, but that's about as far as we went.
Okay, thank you. Barbara Thomas? Joe Record.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a pleasure to see local government at work.
Are you being sarcastic?
I am not, absolutely not. I'm a longtime resident, a veteran. My name is Joe Record. I'm a licensed real estate agent and broker in Franklin Square, and I live in West Hempstead. I just have a comment about the building department, and I'm so happy whatever the solution or whatever the decision is, that you address some of the issues that could be time-saving and money-saving, time-saving for all of us and money-saving for the taxpayers as well. For 36 years, I've been selling residential real estate. Every single home has permit and certificate issues that need to be resolved before conveyance. So today, I came to visit the building department to check on one of my clients. I met with and had to take the time of at least 5 folks upstairs and take their time up to do the research to find out what's on file for building permits, certificates of completion, and what's not. So when I do my visual comparison at the home, we could get ahead of that. In the town of Hempstead, it's a pretty lengthy and time-consuming operation for me to learn that information to help our
better for you if that information was available online so you wouldn't have to.
That's my comment.
Commissioner, where are you, Commissioner? We haven't put all that information. We put some information online. We haven't put all that information online?
The application forms and that stuff is online. The information that he's requesting is not online at this time, no.
So why can't we put open permits and certificates of completion and certificates of occupancy online?
Because we need new computer software to be able to do that.
Have you asked for that?
Yes.
Okay. So, sir, you just brought to our attention an issue that we will address with respect to putting that stuff online so you don't have to come here for 3 hours. You can go on your computer, see if there are any open permits, see if there's a certificate of completion, see if there's a certificate of occupancy. Would that help you?
In the borough of Queens, it's all available online.
I know. That's why we should upgrade.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. We learned something, and now we're going to take some action. It's the point I was making before. We learn more from you guys than we'll ever learn from any report.
So glad I just happened to stop in here and take a view of what was going on in here. Truly.
Thank you, Mr. Record.
Stumble back anytime.
All right, I will. Good day.
Okay, we have no more slips on the administrative calendar. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? You only get to speak once on the administrative calendar. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gillen?
I move to adjourn item number 110 to August 6th.
All right, so now we will vote on adjourning item number 110 to August 6th. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the adjournment.
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman? Aye. Councilman Diaz-Posito?
This is on the adjournment, right?
Yes.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn? Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Aye. Councilwoman King Sweeney? Aye. Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, now we will call the roll on the administrative calendar.
Does somebody need to make a motion? Okay. Supervisor Gillen?
So on the administrative calendar, I vote aye on all matters except for item number 147, which is the extension of a contract to EAC. EAC was my client at my old firm, so I abstain on that one. Also, with respect to item number 148, which is the appointment of a new commissioner for DOOR, I also abstain. I circulated a resume to the town board. I invited them to review the resume of somebody that I put forward. In contrast, I was handed the resume of Reverend Millett just when I appeared at the dais. This is not the way We should hire a commissioner to oversee one of our departments, especially one that has been plagued with some scandal. I have no problems with Reverend Millett. He may be the best and most qualified person for this position. I would have loved to have had a chance to review his resume and to have met with him and interviewed him. This is the way a town board should hire a commissioner, not by dropping a resume on the day of the hearing. So I abstained from 148. Again, Reverend Millett, you could be the best person for the job. I just haven't had a chance to talk to you about the job, and that's why I'm abstaining. I'm not voting no, I'm just abstaining. Oh, I'm sorry, that's item 151, and I'm in the middle of voting, Dorothy. So, and then on item number 92, I vote no, simply because this is an application from 2010. I believe that a lot has changed from 2010, and we should reevaluate the application since it's 2019. Also, on item number 127, I vote no on the following personnel: John Cosienda, Michael Normandia, Robert Ward, Dennis Zizzo. These personnel action items were dropped on my desk minutes before the calendar closed with no discussion, no justification. I cannot support it. From what I can ascertain, less than 60 days ago, the Parks Department gave 2 individuals the Parks Supervisor 2 title because they said there was a need. Now, because those 2 individuals are lower on the list and civil service requirements require you to promote people who are higher on a testing list, and there are people higher than these 2 individuals, it appears to me that now all of a sudden we need 4 Park 2 supervisors just so we can reach the people that were appointed a couple weeks ago. So it doesn't seem to make any sense. It seems like a waste of money. If we need 2 supervisors, then we should follow civil service procedure and do the people from the top 3. So I vote no on these provisions.
Councilman Blakeman?
Yes, I vote aye with the exception of item 109 for the reasons that I've previously stated. With respect to the hiring of a new commissioner for DOR, I did not need to interview Reverend Millett. I have known Reverend Millett for over 20 years. He has been a pastor in our town for a long time. He's a Marine Corps veteran who served his country with great distinction. He is a man of integrity, a man of honor. He has worked very closely with many not-for-profit organizations on projects that were meant to create jobs, projects that were meant to help veterans, projects that were meant to help people in our community in the town of Hempstead. He has an outstanding reputation, and it's a privilege and honor for me to vote for him. And I thank you, Reverend Millett, for stepping up to the plate. I know you didn't need this job. It's a tough job. You know what has to be done. But thank you again for once again answering the call to service, answering the call to duty to help us here in the town straighten out DOR so that we can make sure we create jobs and we provide economic prosperity to all people in the town, regardless of color, regardless of ethnicity, religion, or their background. Thank you so much, Reverend Millett.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
I did say, yes. For the record, I voted no on 109, right?
Yep. No on
Thank you.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
I vote aye with the exception of 109, to which I vote no. And I also want to welcome Dr. Eric Millett to the town of Hempstead family. Dr. Millett, like Bruce mentioned, has really been a beacon, not only in his community and not only for the Greater Second Baptist Church in Freeport, but he's been a beacon in many communities. He's a supporter of veterans. He's a supporter of local nonprofits, where he helps make sure that they ascertain the funds that they need to move forward. And he's also a staunch supporter of our first responders here in the town of Hempstead, serving as a chaplain both in the Freeport Fire Department and the Freeport Police Department. So, Dr. Millett, congratulations, God bless, and thanks for taking on this challenge in moving DOR forward.
Councilman Dunn?
Okay, I vote yes on everything except for 109, which I vote no for, and I just wanted to say that, bringing a fellow Marine to the town is a great thing. Dr. Millett, well, Reverend Dr. Millett, not only served in the United States Marine Corps, but he was employed by the United States State Department as a diplomatic officer, and then got promoted to executive protection agent. In addition, he received many military and State Department awards. And as my colleague just mentioned, he worked with the Freeport Police Department, the Freeport Fire Department. He was the Village of Freeport Police Block Grant Committee. He was on that committee. Block grants, that's something that we need in that department, in that office. He was on a board of ethics and vice chairman of the Commission of Human Relations Committee. That this man fills all the bills that's necessary to do an outstanding job in that department, and I'm just so proud that our Marine is going to be there. So yes on everything except for 109, in which I vote no. And welcome aboard, Dr. Millett.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Thank you very much. I must vote. I wanted to vote no on 109, but I'm going to vote yes. And the reason I really wanted to vote no is because I don't like for anyone to try to take my vote and use it. You know, when you say, I was told, because I did call Senator Brooks. I called him last night, and I spoke to him, and I let him know also that I don't like the idea that someone does this before vote, the day before, to try to force people to vote. I don't like it. But I will vote yes with you this time. And as far as Reverend Millett is concerned, I don't think we could have anyone better. He has youth that really, he works with youth, and that's really important to me, especially in my district. My district door serves youngsters who are underserved and young people whose parents are sort of a little below the line of normal people. He works with them already. He's already working with the veterans. He has a wonderful group of seniors that he works with as well. I know him as a pastor. I know his father. I knew his father, and I know his mom, and I know all the people that come to his church, love him. The only thing I don't like is he's staying too long. That's the only thing that bothers me. But I know that he would do a wonderful, wonderful job in Door. And as far as the person that you did recommend, I was here yesterday until around 2 or 2:30. I never received his resume, but they did bring it to my office around 4:30 or something like that, and I didn't see it until this morning. I don't know the person. I haven't seen him, but I do know that he does not live here. He lives out east someplace, but Reverend Millett lives here, and that's important to me. So I certainly vote yes on Reverend Millett.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
Wait 1 second. Senior Councilwoman, I don't think you articulated that how you vote on the rest of the calendar.
Oh, I'm voting on the rest of the calendar is yes.
Thank you.
Except for the one everybody voted against, and I think that was not our street, right? The green one?
Oh, that's adjourned.
That's adjourned. Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman King Sweeney.
I vote yes on everything except item 109. I vote no, but I do hope that we can come together and address the very legitimate concerns of the Town of Hempstead residents with regard to the building department, whether it's moving forward on those 5 points, other points, and adopting an ad hoc review committee and a director of innovation. Hopefully together we can make some significant needed progress. And as for Pastor Millett, I'm not sure if you know about this, but every town board meeting we're going to require that you give an inspirational speech for about 15 minutes at least. Just kick off the meeting with it, okay? All good? Congratulations and welcome on board.
Councilman Muscarella.
I vote no on 109 and yes on all others.
Okay, now I need a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, if I can this is a little bit of a public service message. On July 24th, myself, along with Senator Monica Martinez and Nassau County Legislator Celia Bino, are going to hold a 2019 Long Island Breast Cancer Forum. It's going to be a bi-county forum that's going to be hosted in Farmingdale, 8 a.m. to noon. And I know that the supervisor and our clerk and our county executive are going to be participating. And the information is on my Facebook page. Of course, you can contact contact my office. But it's going to be a great event with medical professionals. We're going to have some fun, talk about the awareness of the importance of early detection of breast cancer. And since many of you have come along my journey as I fought breast cancer, I am pleased to inform everyone that after 6 months, I finally now went for my MRI and everything looks good. And it's the reason I share, thank you. The reason I share that with you is there's a lot of women out there, a lot of families who've dealt with this issue, and it's really, in the overwhelming majority of the cases, it's just the beginning of a healthier life. And it is constant surveillance. It's tough to do, but it's worth it. So get out and run and attend our forum on July 24th. Thank you.
Councilwoman, we're all very happy to hear your good prognosis.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I might as well add the fact that for the 16th year in a row, I am doing my breast cancer forum right here in Town Hall on October 19th. And I hope that we get some publicity for that this time for Newsday and from Channel 12 because they don't cover anything that I do. One thing we did have the 22nd of June, we had a Juneteenth celebration here in the town of Hempstead where everybody is raving over. There is an exhibit of some of the posters that we use in the pavilion area going through, what is that called? Whatever, the walkway. You can go in and look at those so you can get a chance to see. It's time that we really learn to be brothers and sisters as we truly are. So I would appreciate if you go there.
I'd just like to take this time. I was at the event of Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby. I brought my family. It was one of my first town events. It was one of the most spirited, nicest. It was an event about the proclamation of Abe Lincoln that took 2 years to travel all over America. It wasn't until the general showed up and said you are free in Texas that it became known. In today's era, when we have to tweet, we can get on the internet, we get instant news. It's a breath of fresh air that we learn our history and we go back and learn the culture. And I want to thank Dorothy Gooseby for letting everybody know. This is an event that everybody should attend. My family and I will be there next year. Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you. All right. So now that we've done all of that, I think everybody is a little bit tired. So I will, you want to go through it? Okay, move to adjourn the administrative calendar.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman? Aye. Councilman Diaz-Pasito? Aye. Councilman Dunn? Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Aye. Councilwoman King Sweeney? Aye. Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Now we move into the
All right.
hearing.
Yes, now we're moving into public hearings. First, we have Felix Procacci.
And not too long, Felix.
He's got 3 minutes.
That's right. 3 minutes is all you get, period. And thank you again for coming to the, thank you.
Felix Procacci. First, I need to correct Joe Ra. If you do hire anybody, if you make any expenditure, there needs to be a resolution. I read state law into the morning last night, and every expenditure, every receipt of money, you need a resolution. Also, as far as the building department, I got the documents from the town's building department. I even foiled it twice just to make sure. 2 houses right next door to each other, same plane. One got a green and one got a red. How could that possibly be? And then I foiled another one where there was no disaster report. It wasn't given, there was no report at all. So how did they do the renovations, which they did, for Sandy when they never had a substantial damage assessment done? That's a problem. I only did a few pieces, a few houses, and then I see this problem. So that's it really needs to be audited. Also, Joe Ra, apparently, or the town attorney's office, I believe it's Joe Ra, somehow decided to indemnify many town employees on the Camp Anchor case. That was not a town issue. People were acting on a political issue on their own time. That's what was said to us, and now they're being indemnified. Santino, was it Fred Amarini, Matthew Coleman, Joe Ra is being indemnified. We're paying their legal fees for something they are being sued personally on. This is not their job to get those addresses to send letters to Camp Anchor families. So that is why I want to submit a ethics inquiry about that kind of behavior, but I don't know who to send it to because they told me to send it to the town attorney's office, and I'm not going to do that because I don't think he'll open an investigation on himself. As of the Utica dogs, I agree with Terry Takuta. She gave a very great statement last meeting, I believe. Town employees at the animal shelter should be able to handle dangerous dogs. People talk about the animal shelter in the present. It's always been the present. But I foiled the documents going back to the past. In 2003, the shelter budget was $3.9 million. In 2010, it was $7.1 million. No school district, and I checked, even Jericho, the highest one, had an increase of 100%, nearly 100% in 7 years. It's absurd. We're spending that much money on the animal shelter. The people there should be able to handle dangerous dogs. Otherwise, they shouldn't be in the animal shelter business.
Thank you, Mr. Procacci. Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I'd like to ask if the RFP for the trainer can be expanded. The deadline is in a day or two. I'd also like to find out if it can be posted. I'm not sure what the problem is to have it posted free on the town's Facebook page, the animal shelter page itself.
I don't have an objection to extending the RFP. Does anybody on the board have an objection?
RFPs for what?
For a behavior, it's for the behavior list. That's what you're talking about?
And also having it posted on the town's official Facebook page, posted at the top.
Can we post it on the Facebook page, Mr. Raw? Is that okay? We can post a notice. Sure.
Okay. Soon. I assume that's going to be relatively soon.
We'll try to get it done this week.
The RFP to bring in for an operational audit that was posted, I just would like to know the difference. There was so much talk about an RFP to operationally look at the building department. So there's a post up for a operational audit and assessment of the animal shelter, which to me is very different than what the county controller had asked for. Could someone explain to me what the difference is?
Sure. So based on the county controller's recommendation that an operational audit should be conducted of the animal shelter, the town put out an RFP to do just that, to do an operational assessment and look at the animal shelter and how we do our scheduling, how we do our staffing, how we do everything.
Well, he also asked for outside independent animal care experts. Has anything been done about that? That was specific to Jack Shearman's recommendation, to bring in outside independent animal care experts.
To do an assessment?
Isn't that what we're looking for? We're looking for those kind of experts to do the
To
operational
do the audit, yes.
So not to work there, to do an audit?
An audit as suggested by the controller, yes.
So is there any reason why there's a delay in not changing the personnel there? For instance, the animal shelter director, I think that we have many red flags there based on that audit, not to mention the obstructions there. Why are we waiting to find a new director? Aaron Sweeney had said when we have someone at the animal shelter capable of taking over, which we do now, that was the biggest obstacle. Now we have that. What is the delay?
Can I just ask, what obstruction are you referring to?
I'm talking about all the obstructions to get the fiscal audit completed. In spite of that, it's very clear the animal shelter is being mismanaged. Why is there a delay in replacing Mr. Pastore?
I don't think there was any obstruction with the controller's audit. It took a really long time because the controller took a really long time to get back to us. Initially, the controller wanted to come in and do a full operational audit. And there was pushback because they said that a court had decided he was not entitled to do that. I believe when Mr. Maragos originally tried to do that, a court ruled that it was exceeded his authority to compel the town to go through an operational audit. Mr. Schneerman took over as controller when he first came in. He wanted to do a complete operational audit. There was resistance, and they cited this legal decision. But now that we've had the results of his audit, there has been more agreement at this dais that it would be a good idea to do an operational audit of the animal shelters. So that's why we put out the RFP.
So to be specific, though, and if I didn't misunderstand you, you said he didn't face any obstacles doing his fiscal audit, because that's very contrary to his statements. He said it was unbelievable the amount of obstacles he faced to trying to get this audit accomplished on a fiscal level.
I didn't discuss that with Mr. Schneerman. I don't know maybe he did have some obstacles that I'm not aware of. My office certainly didn't put any obstacles in his path.
Why is Mr. Pistori there? Why is he still there after all of these red flags that are going off left and right? If you're aware, just as you are in the building department, everyone's considering additional personnel. Why do we still have the person that has mismanaged the animal shelter since 2014 still at the wheel?
I don't believe it's appropriate for us to comment on personnel matters.
You've been commenting on personal matters all day. I'd like to know if a notice of claim is voidable, and I'd like to mention to the town clerk that I am hitting a lot of resistance trying to get bite case incident reports. I've gotten them in the past. Maybe you can help with that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Stephanie Capuano.
Okay, so nobody's here, but anyway, the point that I was trying to make, Stephanie Capuano, the point that I was trying to make before was that years ago, my father took me, I did a rescue, and I was helping this girl. She took the credit, she got 30 grand, and she went in, I saw the animals, and they were dying. She was away for the weekend, she had one volunteer. Now we have this shelter here, years later. I was sickened, really, and it was a money-making racket for her and for certain people. Now we have a shelter making millions of dollars trying to save animals, and you get the same thing on a bigger scale. All day, I change my little routine here, my little script. All day I'm listening to you and Blakeman and everybody talk about the jobs are tough. We have to get nobody knows what, you said get the experts in, they have to have qualifications. And this one said the jobs are tough. We have a great person lined up. She said, oh, he'll give us a little, prayer meeting before it. Everybody has good people lined up. When are you guys going to listen to us about the shelter? We have it's a waste of money what you're doing. We have all this money going into a shelter without the proper personnel. When are you going to listen? I just want to know when.
So we have a public hearing on trying to implement some of the recommendations that came out of the financial audit that we received from the controller. And now we have an RFP out for an operational audit. And hopefully when that comes back, they'll give us some good tips on what we need to fix and what we don't need to fix.
You already know that. I was 7 and I knew right from wrong when I was 7. You already know that. Listen. I've been listening to you say this whole meeting that you need to get better people that are qualified, and I agree. Now help us do this shelter right. It's time. And I'm so glad that Diane Madden, I hate to say it, is running, because you know what? It's so partisan up here. I would like to see a third person that is running that can, that's qualified as my eyes. I have faith in that you have a choice, another choice, because it's so partisan to be a Democrat, to be a Republican. It's crazy. Nothing gets done. So I'm glad that we have a third option.
Thank you, Ms. Capuano. Pat Io? Stuart Kroll.
Stu Kroll, Great Neck. Before I get into what I want to say in general, I just want to say that everybody on this board was either elected or appointed originally, and if the people in this room are indicative of the districts that you're representing, what happened with the buildings, is just an absolute perfect example of how democracy is not supposed to work. You're supposed to represent the people. Nobody's really interested in your opinions. It's the citizens that you're supposed to represent. That's my opinion on that. Anyway, we recently went over the banning of vaping, and I agree with the danger that vaping poses to our youth, and I'm certainly in favor of banning it. One of the consequences of this ban is that a scant few store owners will lose their jobs, and we probably all agree this is an acceptable loss. What I don't understand, and perhaps somebody here can enlighten me, as to why puppy mill stores are still allowed to continue operating with impunity. Animals are dying there at an alarming rate. Any such death is totally unacceptable. Mother dogs are tortured as they are forced to breed continually and then discarded as trash. These are establishments of torture for profit. Why does Hempstead continue to allow them to operate? Many municipalities around the country now require that pet stores only sell rescue animals. This was recently proposed in the New York State Legislature, and it's only a matter of time before it passes. Perhaps the owners of these stores are political donors. I don't know what the reason is. In any case, it certainly seems as though this board is very resistant to shutting them down. The few jobs that would be lost are the same jobs that would be lost in vaping stores. So maybe somebody can explain to me why these stores can continue to operate and nobody wants to propose legislation, to stop them. As this is an election year for many of you, right now maybe somebody in this board would be happy to propose legislation requiring only rescue animals be sold in these heinous puppy stores. Any takers?
I think it's something that we can certainly discuss. I don't think anybody here is in favor of torturing of mother dogs. I don't think anybody here is in favor of that.
I mean, everybody was certainly against, vaping, and they wanted to shut that down. A few people lose their jobs, and a few people lose their jobs in the puppy mill stores. I mean, it's quite clear what's happening there. Anyway, we recently deserted about 10 dogs at a heinous Utica facility that was shut down due to utterly deplorable conditions. It was said that you needed to protect the public from these dangerous dogs. First of all, there's no such breed as a pit bull. These are dogs that are currently feared just as German Shepherds and Rottweilers once were feared. They are disproportionately abandoned and euthanized due to stupid owners and ignorant municipalities. TOH is a municipal shelter. It is not the Westminster Dog Show where all the dogs are fluffy, cute French poodles. All these dogs deserve their basic needs to be fulfilled and to receive training from a competent behaviorist. Unfortunately, the Hempstead shelter has had a fraudulent trainer, Fonte, who was a patronage appointee who lied about most of her qualifications. Since we have deserted these dogs, they were taken in by a compassionate rescue group. There should be an immediate resolution proposed by the town to rightfully pay for the full treatment that our dogs are getting. So again, if somebody if we're not going to take the dogs, we should at least pay for their care. I think that's only reasonable. So does anybody want to propose that resolution? I hope I'm not disturbing anybody, but incidentally, Mike Pastore inspected this facility and gave it a clean bill of health. How many more animals must suffer and die before he is replaced by a competent director? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Mary Ellen Cray. But you will have to identify yourself as somebody other than Mary Ellen Cray.
Mariano Ugaldi, 645 Way Park Avenue, Uniondale. I'm the president of the Uniondale Chamber of Commerce. Mary Ellen Cray had just asked for me to please mention this, that is it possible to consider with I think it's the permit applications for the building department, if there's a way that could become an online process so you don't have to actually come down physically to pick up the form.
We are certainly moving to modernizing the town of Hempstead. We are, in the past year, we've gotten almost all our contracts online. We've created a new portal. We've created a new app. We have created online registration for swimming lessons, so in other parks programs, so this is certainly something that we will consider moving forward, and I agree 100%. Thank you.
Like always, I'd like to thank the entire town council and the town supervisor.
Thank you for your service to Uniondale.
Thank you.
Pearl Jacobs, she's still here? Okay. Mita Meriday. Barbara Thomas.
Good afternoon, Barbara Thomas from Massapequa. I wanted to speak a bit again about the dogs that were left in Utica. Of course, there are a lot of people very disappointed in, I'm sorry to say, all of you, because you didn't go to pick up our dogs who were in a cruelty situation. I think the last time I spoke, I said something quite dramatic, but I still feel it's true that you left them in a cruelty situation. And in my opinion, that means you participated in that animal cruelty. And in addition to that, the town of Hempstead and others funded this operation, which was housing 118 dogs living in their own feces and urine. Ulster County Canines, they're the ones that really came through for the dogs. Ulster County Canines is a nonprofit in Saugerties, I hope I pronounced that right, New York. They went in and their original purpose was to go in and evaluate the dogs and maybe take a couple of them. But when they saw how bad it was, they actually rescued 32 dogs. They found placement for 10 of them, and they have 22 dogs in their possession now. They are staffed, and they are receiving a lot of support now because this is a humongous case, and there are so many people trying to help the dogs because they were victims. In regards to the treatment of the animals, including yours, some of those animals that were rescued by Ulster County Canines were so badly scalded. They had urine scalding from laying in their crates so long and not receiving any type of socializations or stimulation. And one more thing about the dogs, all of them, is that the last time we actually brought up the possibility of having a discussion about dangerous dogs. And there's no one qualified, and there has been no one qualified to determine what dogs are dangerous dogs, which we know there are. And we know in some cases, if you have an extremely dangerous dog, if evaluated properly and given every chance to be a good dog, if it just doesn't happen, then euthanasia might be the outcome, which is very, very sad to say. But we have to do everything we can before it comes to that. The reason I tell you that is because especially Councilwoman Sweeney had mentioned the pit bulls. Her comments were a little bit disturbing, but on top of that, the dogs that were rescued were determined to be not dangerous dogs by qualified people at Ulster County Canines, which just means you still had no one that then and now have anyone qualified to evaluate these dogs properly.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Thomas. All right, everybody, have a nice day. Happy 4th of July, everyone.